I get it when you're standing in front of a wall of TVs. The biggest fear is walking away with a monster screen that looks amazing in the showroom, but ends up being a money-draining disappointment in your living room. You've probably Googled best 85-inch TV a dozen times, watched endless round-robin debates, and maybe even measured the space between your sofa and the media console a few times just to make sure you don't end up with a picture you can't actually see. The last thing you want is to spend a premium on a set that looks great on paper but feels off when you finally sit down to binge your favorite shows or fire up a game. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's talk about the Sony 85-inch BRAVIA XR30M2. This is the model Sony is pushing as a cinema-style TV for people who want that theater vibe at home, and it also carries the Gemini processing chip that Sony says will make picture and sound smarter in real time. The price tag is definitely up there. So the question is, does the experience you actually get in a typical family room or gaming den justify the cost? Or are there hidden trade-offs that make a smaller, cheaper screen a smarter choice? First, let's walk through the practical setup. The box arrives in a large rectangular crate that needs at least 2 people to lift. Don't try to do this solo if you have a tight staircase. The stand is sturdy and the legs have a low profile, but the TV's weight means you'll want to make sure the TV stand you buy can handle around 110 pounds. When you plug it in, the on-screen setup wizard walks you through connecting to Wi-Fi, signing into your Google account, and scanning for nearby devices. It's pretty smooth, but the one thing that trips people up is the initial Wi-Fi handshake. If your router is tucked in a different room, you might see a brief, weak signal warning, and you'll have to either move the router or use a wired Ethernet adapter. I found that a single Cat6 cable hidden behind the TV stand gave a more reliable connection, especially for gaming sessions where latency matters. Now, picture quality. Sony's Drolled Contrast Pro engine, paired with the Gemini processor, is the core of the claim that this TV delivers cinematic picture and sound at home. In my testing, the 4K HDR panel does produce deep blacks and vibrant colors that hold up when you watch a recent blockbuster with Dolby Vision. The upscaling is noticeable. A 1080p YouTube video looked sharper than on my older 65-inch model, and the motion handling on fast-moving sports was smooth, no jitter, just clean trails. What matters in everyday use is that you're not constantly adjusting settings. The TV's intelligent auto mode reads the ambient light and content type, then nudges brightness and contrast accordingly. In a bright living room with large windows, the picture stayed bright enough without washing out colors, while in a dimmed movie night setting, the TV dimmed itself just enough to keep the blacks truly black. That kind of hands-off adjustment is a real time saver if you don't want to keep reaching for the remote. Sound is another area where Sony tries to stand out. The built-in speakers are tuned for cinematic sound, and they do fill a medium-sized room with decent volume. You can hear directional cues in a thriller, but if you're a true audiophile or you regularly watch movies with a full surround sound system, you'll quickly notice the limitations. The TV has an HDMI ERC port, so you can easily hook it up to a soundbar or AV receiver, and that's where the audio really shines. In practice, I paired it with a mid-range soundbar, and the combination delivered an immersive experience that rivaled a small home theater setup. If you plan to keep the stock speakers, expect solid but not spectacular performance, good for casual viewing, not for a dedicated cinema room. Gaming is where the perfect for PlayStation 5 claim gets tested. The TV supports 4K at 120 Hz over HDMI 2.1, and the input lag measured at roughly 10 milliseconds in game mode is on par with other high-end displays. When I fired up a fast-paced shooter on my PS5, the motion was buttery smooth, and the HDR tone mapping kept bright explosions from looking blown out. The TV also supports variable refresh rate, VRR, and auto low latency mode, LLM, so the console can automatically switch the TV into the optimal setting without you having to fiddle with menus. If you're a competitive gamer, the low input lag and VRR are the biggest selling points. For a casual gamer who just wants to enjoy story-driven titles, the experience is still excellent, but you won't necessarily need the full 120 Hz bandwidth. So, who should actually consider spending on this 85-inch BRAVIA? If you have a dedicated home theater room or a large open-plan living area where a massive screen can be viewed from a distance of at least 6 to 8 feet, and you value a TV that can handle both high-end movies and next-gen gaming without